The enigmatic reign of King Edward II introduces us to a period in English history marked by intrigue, controversy, and challenges to royal authority. King Edward II, who ruled from 1307 to 1327, stands out as one of England's most complicated monarchs, not just for his political struggles, but also for his personal life, which has been the subject of much speculation and fascination. His reign was characterized by ineffective leadership and military failures, which, combined with his controversial personal relationships, led to a turbulent rule that culminated in his eventual deposition. The significance of King Edward II's reign in relation to the main topic, scandal beneath the crown, the hidden lovers of King Edward II, lies in the monarch's close relationships with male favorites, primarily Piers Gaveston and later Hugh Despenser the Younger. These relationships were perceived by contemporaries as scandalous and damaging to the realm. The intense favoritism Edward showed to Gaveston, even granting him titles and lands, sparked jealousy and unrest among the nobility, contributing to political instability. Edward's reign provides rich examples of how personal relationships can impact governance and royal authority. For instance, Piers Gaveston's influence over Edward led to significant resentment among the barons, culminating in Gaveston's execution in 1312. Similarly, Hugh Despenser's favour led to further tensions, ultimately playing a part in the baronial revolt that saw Edward being overthrown by his own wife, Isabella of France, and her lover, Roger Mortimer. Opinions about Edward's reign are diverse. Some historians argue that his relationships with Gaveston and Despenser were driven by deep emotional bonds, possibly romantic, challenging traditional norms of masculinity and kingship. In contrast, others see these alliances as politically motivated, reflecting poor judgment and favoritism, which undermined Edward's credibility as a ruler. This era was mired in controversy, with challenges such as the tension between royal authority and noble power, and the perception of Edward's rule as ineffectual due to his personal predilections. These elements coexist with alternative viewpoints, arguing that Edward was a victim of unlucky circumstances, such as the economic hardships of the time. The enigmatic nature of Edward II's reign, with its blend of personal and political drama, influences other aspects of the topic by illustrating how private life and public duty can intersect with explosive consequences. Understanding Edward's personal relationships enriches the narrative of his downfall, highlighting how private scandals had profound public ramifications. The early life and ascendancy of King Edward II is a foundational aspect of understanding the broader topic of scandal beneath the crown, the hidden lovers of King Edward II. This concept encapsulates Edward's formative years, his path to the throne, and the influences that shaped his personality and reign. Born in 1284, Edward II was the fourth son of King Edward I and was unexpectedly thrust into prominence following the deaths of his older brothers. His father, a formidable king known for military conquests and administrative reforms, had clear expectations for his successor. However, Edward II's upbringing, characterized by a lack of rigorous preparation for leadership, deeply affected his reign and personal relationships. Edward's early life is significant in understanding his notorious scandals and affairs. Lacking the martial prowess and political acumen of his father, Edward sought emotional connections elsewhere, leading to intricate relationships with favorites like Piers Gaveston and later Hugh Despenser the Younger. These relationships were not just personal, but political, causing rifts with the nobility and leading to significant historical events like the Ordinances of 1311, which aimed to limit royal authority. Such tensions highlight how Edward's early life laid the groundwork for his reliance on favorites, thus directly linking to his intimate associations and the ensuing scandals beneath the crown. Specific examples illustrating this point include his infamous favouring of Piers Gaveston, who was appointed the Earl of Cornwall, a decision that incensed the English barons. Another example is Edward's relationship with Hugh Despenser, whose influence eventually led to the Despenser War and Edward's eventual downfall. These instances underscore how Edward II's ascendancy and personal inclinations fueled political unrest and scandal. Opinions on Edward II often highlight his unsuitability for kingship. not only because of his favoritism, but due to his perceived neglect of royal duties in favor of personal pursuits. Critics argue that his emotional dependencies undermined his authority, contributing to his lack of control over the nobility. However, some view Edward's close relationships as a humanizing aspect, reflecting the complex dynamics of personal and political life in medieval courts. Challenges and controversies center around the legitimacy of his relationships, with some historical debate on the nature of his bonds. Is it love, political strategy, or both? This issue challenges modern interpretations of Edward's motives and reign. Ultimately, the early life and ascendancy of Edward II are crucial, as they influence not only his personal relationships but also the political landscape of his era, foreshadowing the instability and scandals that marred his reign. This interplay of personal vulnerability and political authority is a key thread in the tapestry of Edward II's tumultuous kingship. Piers Gaveston, often referred to as the favoured companion of King Edward II, was more than just a friend to the English monarch. He was a pivotal figure whose relationship with Edward wielded considerable influence over both the crown and the court. Gaveston was a Gascon knight who caught the young prince's eye with his charm, intelligence, and charisma, ultimately becoming Edward's most treasured confidant, and perhaps, as many historians suggest, his lover. Their closeness sparked significant controversy from the outset, as Gaveston's influence over Edward led to tensions with the English nobility. The significance of Gaveston in relation to the main topic, scandal beneath the crown, lies in the disruptive impact of his relationship with Edward II on English politics and society. His elevated status provoked the ire of the barons, who saw him as an outsider wielding inappropriate influence over royal affairs. Examples of this are evident in Gaveston's extravagant titles and lands bestowed by Edward, such as the earldom of Cornwall, traditionally reserved for royalty. His prominence at court led to resentment and political factionalism, contributing to the instability of Edward's reign. Several historians and contemporaries have painted Gaveston as a manipulative outsider who exploited Edward's affections. The chronicler Thomas Walsingham, for instance, described him as a cunning flatterer. Conversely, some modern historians argue that Gaveston's vilification stemmed from homophobia and xenophobia among the nobility. Gaveston's intimate relationship with Edward, whether romantic or not, challenged the norms of masculinity and power dynamics of the time. The controversies surrounding Gaveston revolved around not only the personal nature of his relationship with Edward, but also the tangible political consequences. Many barons viewed him as a threat to their power and a detriment to the kingdom's prosperity. In 1312, these tensions culminated in Gaveston's capture and execution by a faction of disgruntled nobles, marking a turning point in Edward's troubled reign. This scenario of the king's favoritism illustrates the broader theme of hidden lovers under Edward's crown, as it brings to light the intersection of personal relationships with political governance. Gaveston's story connects to Edward's other rumoured relationships, highlighting a pattern of intimate companionships profoundly shaping the political landscape. This particular scandal underscores the complexity of medieval politics, where personal connections could destabilize entire reigns, setting the stage for future conflicts and portraying a dramatic portrait of courtly intrigue. Hugh Despenser the Younger, a controversial influence, serves as a compelling focus in the narrative of Scandal Beneath the Crown, the Hidden Lovers of King Edward II. Hugh Despenser the Younger was a favoured courtier of King Edward II of England, rising to prominence in the early 14th century. As a close and possibly intimate companion to the king, Despenser wielded immense power, influencing both personal and political spheres of Edward's reign. His relationship with Edward was not merely a personal alliance, but one with profound political ramifications, given the heightened influence he held at court and his ability to sway the king's decisions. The significance of Despenser's influence cannot be overstated. It highlights the convoluted nature of royal relationships and governance during this period. Despenser's rise to power resulted from the favour he enjoyed with Edward, which was perceived as favoritism that undermined established nobility, sowing discord and resentment among other barons and contributing to a broader political instability. This resentment escalated to civil unrest and even rebellion, as many opposed the preferential treatment and power accumulation by Despenser and his family. Real-world illustrations of Despenser's controversial influence include his acquisition of vast lands and wealth, often at the expense of disinherited nobles, which intensified his unpopularity. Another example is his involvement in foreign policy maneuvers that often reflected personal agendas rather than national interest, contributing to his notorious reputation. Supporters of Despenser argue that he was simply a scapegoat for larger systemic failures and that his influence was exaggerated by those wishing to curtail the power of the crown. However, detractors point to the considerable evidence of his manipulative tactics and self-serving politics. The challenges and controversies surrounding Despenser's influence reflect broader themes of power dynamics, the risks of favoritism, and the precarious balance between personal and political relationships at the heart of monarchical governance. Despenser's influence intersects with other aspects of Edward II's reign, revealing the complexities of personal relationships within the monarchy. It also underscores the delicate interplay between private affinity and public duty, illustrating how personal bonds can shape historical trajectories and incite political upheaval. His story provides an acute lens into the scandals beneath the crown, where hidden lovers and contentious relationships shaped the fate of a kingdom and left an indelible imprint on history.